Okay, so this is a bit of an experiment. I am recording this on my iPhone instead of on my computer. That was Charlie. Hi, Charlie. So please give me some feedback. Let me know how the sound is, etc. Here comes Charlie. Because actually being able to record this on the iPhone would give me a lot more flexibility rather than being on the computer. Okay, say goodbye, Charlie. Okay. Charlie is one of our two cats. We also have Lucy, and we have a dog. He's my son's dog, Major. They are all rescues. And now back to where I was going with this. So before we talk about how I ended up leaving Putney, I wanted to just share a few memories that I have of Putney. They're just random memories, and I wanted to share them with you. I remember, for those of you who are familiar with Putney, that at the top of the hill, excuse me, go on, Charlie, that at the top of the hill there was a woman in a beautiful house, and her name was either Mrs. Henderson or Mrs. Hendricks. And I remember as a kid sometimes just going there and knocking on the door, and she'd let me come in and give me cookies, and I absolutely have no idea who she was relative to me or relative to other people in Putney, but I certainly remember her fondly. I remember that there was a knitting shop or a yarn shop, and I believe it was called Carol Brown, and it was up a side road. I don't really remember much more about it, but I do remember it. When we lived in the apartments behind the paper mill, and someone who has been watching this series, Gunner, reminded me that those apartments belonged to Sarah Doyle. Now, Sarah Doyle was, to my 8-year-old mind, a cantankerous, annoying woman who was very bossy to me. Apparently she watched me sometimes. I have memories of that. I thought she was about 102 years old, but I'm sure she was actually being nice and responsible with me. But I remember in particular one time while my father was taking the Russian classes at Windham College that I was supposed to stay at her house, and I really didn't want to. And I remember having a friend, and I don't recall who it was, but I think it might have been Leslie Herbert, on a bike. She was riding on her bike with me on the back, so tandem on the bike, running away from Sarah Doyle. And I remember it very clearly because we were going as fast as Leslie, if it was Leslie, could pedal, and Sarah Doyle came chasing after us in her car and collared me and dragged me back to her house. So that's just an interesting memory. I guess I was pretty headstrong even then. Another memory I have, which may or may not have been a predictor of the person I was destined to be, is that there was a restaurant there. I don't remember the name of it. It was a little kind of a cafe restaurant, and I knew one of the adults who worked there. She was teaching me to crochet, and I went to visit her at the restaurant and somehow got in my head that I was going to have a job there. Now remember, I'm about 8 years old. We're talking about third grade age, and they must have thought that was really cute, so they let me come behind the counter and do some things, and I took it so seriously that the next day I showed up in the dress part of a Halloween costume. It was a nurse's costume, so it was a white uniform looking dress, and I showed up for work. I was waiting when they opened at about, I think it was 6 in the morning. There I was in my waitress dress, as I thought it looked, showing up for work. And so they had to explain to me that actually they couldn't let me work there because there are child labor laws, and I was only 8. And I'm sure I was crestfallen. I don't remember what happened after that, but my father used to really like to tell that story. I remember the Herberts. I, of course, remember Rachel Trumper, who was not only my friend, but my pediatrician's daughter from the grammar school, and we are still in touch, and I am so grateful for that. And, oh yes, this is relevant to my leaving Putney, so I'll give you a little taste of that, and then I will close this. My father had a friend. Her name was Erica Brigham, and he was really quite sweet on her. And at one point in time, she was in management at the Putney Inn. And as a result, sometimes I used to get to hang out there, and I learned how to operate the switchboard. Now, this was a true old-style, petticoat junction-style switchboard, where in order to connect calls, you had to pull out the cable and plug it into the switchboard, and I learned how to operate that, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And sometimes Erica would let me operate that. Perhaps that shows even early what a geek I was destined to be. I don't know. I just know that it was fun. So those are some thoughts of Putney. Oh, one more, the general store. Boy, I think the owner's name was Al. It was right there on that triangle in the middle of town. And he had the most awesome collection of penny candy. And I always enjoyed going in there. I believe I went in there sometimes with another friend, Tanya Emma, with whom I'm also still in touch. And it's been really cool reconnecting with a lot of the grammar school people on Facebook as well. A reminder that you can connect with me on Facebook at Ann P. Mitchell, and also if you have any questions or comments, please submit them by email at the link to the, wait, I can figure this out, right of this video where it says email Ann, and I will be happy to answer any questions you have in the next video. Thank you again for tuning in.